What's up, Labia loves? Before we enter the lounge and get stuck into this epi, I wanted to tell you about my new online course that's about to go live. It's called Queen Out, and it's a 3-month course that's going to help you level up your sex life and relationship to yourself and others in every way. And I'm offering a massive discount to the courageous trailblazers who jump on board for this first time that I run the course. So Queen Out is on offer right now for half price to celebrate its inaugural launch and to get feedback on it before I launch it again at full price. So if you're ready to take your sex life into your own hands and go on a deep dive with me to feel more sexually empowered, confident, knowledgeable, and orgasmic, now is the time. Doors are open for the next week or so with this discounted price. And I won't be offering it at this price again, as it's already a total bargain. And it's the culmination of my years of experience in the field of sexuality and women's work and personal development, facilitation. And I've put all my best material, tips and tricks in the one place for you. So I just know you're going to get so much out of it and start seeing transformation in all aspects of your life, but in particular, the bedroom. The course is for women who struggle with orgasm, self-love, and a lack of confidence or correct information around their sexuality. It'll help you feel more sexually alive, connected, confident, and comfortable in your sensuality through a combo of inspiring sex education, coaching, and embodiment practices. So it's pretty much your one-stop shop for learning how to own your sexuality, reclaim your pleasure, and queen the fuck out. So anyway, I'm super excited about it and I can't wait to connect with you in the course. I'll pop the link and the discount code in the show notes for you and let you get into the episode now.
This program is brought to you by Pussy Magnets.
Put a midge on your friends with a pussy magnet.
Welcome, my lovely lumps. Or should I say lovely labs? I'm so thrilled to have you here in the Labia Lounge to yarn about all things sexuality, womanhood, holistic health, and everything in between. Your legs. I can never help myself. Anyway, we're going to have vag loads of real chats with real people about real shit. So buckle up. You're about to receive the sex ed that you never had and have a bloody good laugh while you're at it. Before we get stuck in, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this, the Menang people. It's an absolute privilege to be living and creating dope podcast content on Noongar country, and I pay respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if you're all ready, let's flap and do this. Oh God, is there such thing as too many vagina jokes in the one intro? Whatever, I'm leaving it in. It's my podcast.
Don't panic, you're not broken. Your sex education was a piece of shit. Get your flaps out and pull up a couch. It's the Labia Lounge.
Hey, Labia love bugs. I'm really stoked to have you back in the lounge today because I've got an awesome topic for you, and it's something that a lot of clients ask me about. I find myself talking about it quite a lot. So I know that it's something that many women struggle with, and that is the difficulty with orgasming with a partner. So I've got Melissa Vranjes on to chat about all of this stuff with me, and she's the perfect person to address this because she's an internationally certified holistic sex coach based in New Zealand, and she's deeply passionate about teaching women how to feel liberated in their sex lives, fulfilled in their relationships, and confident in the bedroom. And she supports hundreds of women to, step past the fear and the shame that sex brings and feel unbounded with the possibility of their sexuality and relationships. Nice. So welcome, Melissa. Come and sit on this big old pussy couch with me, won't you?
She's juicy. I'm in.
So let's chat sex coach to sex coach. When women come, who work with you come and they're having trouble orgasming with a partner, what are the main obstacles that you kind of have been discovering getting in the way of their pleasure?
So first and foremost, I feel like this can be complex, and also it can be so unique to each woman, person, vulva owner. So when I speak about this today, it really is like just zooming out and going, okay, what are the common challenges that I see when I work with women and people, and plucking that out. So that's the first piece. And kind of building up on that is really understanding there are so many different parts to this. So there's psychological. Do you feel safe in your body, right? Do you feel safe in your partnership? Do you feel safe in your environment? Do you feel shame around parts of your sexuality or your desires or your kinks or fantasies? What's really going on in your head? Because that plays a huge part, as you know, to our sexuality and being able to fully surrender. So really understanding like what's going on in your head first and foremost. And then really going into, did I say psychologically first? I did, didn't I? Mm-hmm. And then physiologically. Yeah. So getting into the body then. What did I say? Where am I? And then getting into the body. So how do you feel about your body? How do you feel about your pleasure? How do you feel about your vulva, your vagina? How do you feel about your whole body? And really going deeper with that is, again, is there shame around your body? Do you feel embarrassed to really open your legs and fully receive your partner, or let your partner receive you? And then, we can go a little deeper with that, which I think is really important, because we can go into arousal, sexual desire, right? Even communication, right? Communication with your pussy, communication with your body, but also really understanding, are things moving too fast for your body? Is there something happening where your body is shutting down and closing off and just going, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Like, not safe, quick, shut down, abort, orgasmic mission. So I think there's two parts that I like to look at this, and that's really like head and body and what's going on there.
Yeah, totally. Big time. And I guess that's why I find it's kind of common, at least with the women that I chat to, that there is this discrepancy where like she might be able to actually have an orgasm with herself, but then when there's someone else involved, it's like there's this whole other dimension. Firstly, it's like you're saying psychological. So like, is she self-conscious of her body, or performance anxiety? Like, are there insecurities? Is there shame or embarrassment around sexuality or genitals, or even just like embarrassment and shame around her own pleasure and expression of that pleasure, And then like on a physiological level, it might be that like partners don't really know how to like work with her body, and she doesn't know how to communicate her needs or like what she actually likes to tell them that. It's like the physical, I guess, mechanics of sex with someone else versus with yourself, where like, if it's solo, you are in control and you can manage like the pace and the technique and the depth, and like you kind of, you're like in control of all that and you know what's up. Whereas if there's a whole nother person involved, it's like quite tricky sometimes, because it adds this, you've got to be able to communicate, you've got to be able to know what you need from them and what you want from them, what you would like them to be doing more of or less of. And, they need to have some level of, I guess, like knowledge or compatibility. They need to calibrate to your body. Like there's so many different things that create potential hurdles, I suppose. So it is like, I know what you mean. It's like really complex, and it's so different from person to person, and then like couple to couple as well. But yeah, do you find that you hear that a bit as well? Like it's not always just that they can't, they're having trouble orgasming in general, but it's actually more difficult when there's a partner involved?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, just seconding everything that you said, is that as soon as we have that person in front of us, it's like, okay, we're not just solely focusing on ourselves. We've now got this human, their energy, their knowledge, their experience in front of us that we're now managing, as well as our own arousal and our own pleasure. So I think that a lot of women and people get really caught up around like, oh, well, I should just be able to get there in 10 minutes because I can self-pleasure and get there in 10 minutes. Like, why can't it happen when I'm with this guy or this girl or this person? And we just totally forget we're taking on board somebody else's full energy field as well as our own in these intimate, vulnerable places, and not taking that into consideration. And it affects us in massive ways. I know for myself that there's things that need to happen before I can fully surrender, right? Check-ins, check in with myself, check in with my partner, really understanding where I'm at. Like, am I super tired? Am I really stressed? There's different things that happen in my everyday life that can affect how I orgasm, what kind of orgasm, how long it takes me to even drop into my body. Like where my partner's at, where have they had a really tiring day? There's just so many different things that play into not being able to orgasm with our partner. And I just think we have these really high expectations that what we should be doing with ourselves, we should be able to do with another. So yeah, absolutely. And I think like it's also important to say, like, and I've said this before probably a bunch on this podcast, but orgasm isn't the be all and end all, and there's so many other things you can experience that are pleasurable or erotic or arousing or connecting and intimate with someone else that don't, require you to have that peak orgasm. Like you can be feeling sexual energy and orgasmic energy and, subtle pleasure, or even just like the, joy or pleasure of connecting lovingly with someone and being intimate and being in a vulnerable space with them. So like there's a lot of other things you can enjoy, even if you're not having that peak orgasm. And I think those things get really like minimized and invalidated when, as a culture, we all just pedestalize orgasm and focus on that peak orgasm so much that it means we feel like anything less. If we don't come, it's been a failed session. Like it's a failure. We're a failure. Our bodies are broken, Yeah, big time. Yeah. And like, I love that you spoke into that, because how can we really, and this is another thing that I work with clients, is like, how can we change our narrative around orgasm? Like, does orgasm mean success? Does that mean that we're like killing it in the bedroom? And really reiterating, or like, I guess just changing the narrative around what pleasure is and what eroticism is for us. And like exactly what you said, like, why do we need to hierarchy our experiences in the bedroom? Sure, some are like incredibly enjoyable and they have different levels of enjoyment for sure. But I think when we can really look at how can I let pleasure or my eroticism or my sexual energy right now guide me? Like, what would happen if I fully just surrendered and go, okay, pleasure, take me, go on, take me. Where do you want to take me? And you're playing with your pleasure, with maybe even sensations or stimulation. Like, okay, I'm at a 3, like, do you want to take me further? Do you want to build this up even more? Like, I'm all yours. And even just kind of focusing on that journey, being the passenger, pleasure the driver, can actually lead to the experience of fully surrendering and allowing orgasm to happen with a partner. So I think there's like some internal work that can really guide you to orgasm if you don't focus on it, as we all know, right? Letting pleasure guide you and just being a passenger.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that's one of the most common things I come across when someone comes to work with me and they're like, yeah, I really struggle to orgasm with a partner. Like, I get really in my head, or I feel guilty about receiving. It's like they don't feel comfortable being in the receptive role and just surrendering and receiving. They feel like, we've all just been so conditioned to be very giving. And, it's all quite tit for tat and make sure it's equal and, oh, they're doing something nice to my body, they're going down on me. So I'm already like thinking about what I'm going to do to them next. And, I'll let them do that for a few minutes and then I've got to quickly, get down there and return the favor. And it's very difficult for a lot of people to receive. Like, do you relate to that? Do you feel like you come across that a fair bit as well, that inability to surrender and receive, just taking them out of the experience that would then lead to orgasm?
Big time. Absolutely. And this is something that I struggled with when I was first learning about this. I was like, oh my God, what do you mean that I can fully like sit back and my partner can go down on me for like 30 minutes and I don't have to think about like quickly getting up and being like, no, let me suck your dick or let me do this. So yes, on a personal level, I have absolutely been there. And on a professional level, working with clients, absolutely. Like when I actually give women and people the permission and say, how do you feel about just receiving for 15 minutes? Like pop a timer on. And I find that this practice works really well for people who struggle to receive. You put a timer on, you put it on for 15 minutes or however long, and you both do it. So it kind of quote unquote forces you to fully receive for that 15 minutes. And that timer is like a permission slip for your brain to go, okay, it'll go off when the time is up. I don't even need to think about anything or about like, okay, how long has it been or what? It's just the time's got that. And you have this full kind of, what is it really? It's just a permission slip to fully practice surrender and then giving fully consciously and full bodied to your partner when it's their time. And you don't have to think about them. When you're receiving, it's like, oh, I'm in heaven. I just get to receive this and I get to tell my partner, I want like my inner thigh kissed. I want my nipples sucked. I want my feet massaged. You can just keep guiding them for 15 minutes. And you know that there is going to be a return and you get to give to them as well. But I just think it's such a beautiful practice to start training women and people that you're allowed to surrender. You're allowed to fully receive, and you're allowed to kind of like fuck up the narrative of you've got to give, always give, like give of yourself, put others first. It's like, no. Not when it comes to pleasure.
I know it's something that's amazing because like I give that as homework all the time to people, and I think it is a bit of a game changer. That having the timer, taking turns, knowing that like you're actually okay to just totally receive because like you'll have your turn to give, but that turn is not right now. It just makes it a little bit clearer and gives them an experience that's not muddied by that thing in the back of their mind where they're like, oh, I should be doing more or giving, or like, am I actually able to receive? Like, is this equal? What are they thinking? So yeah. And I love that there's like almost been a bit of a reclamation of starfishing. I think Rosie Reese talked about starfishing at some point, and I like to call it like pillow princess, because it was this really like derogatory thing of like, oh, you don't want to be a starfish and just lie there and but actually like I fucking love doing that, and it's one of the ways that I feel the most pleasure and the most sexy and adored and worshipped is like actually just getting to like fully switch off and just be a total rag doll and receive, like it's the best.
Oh my God, it is the best. Full reclamation of the starfish. Did you say the pillow princess?
Pillow princess, yeah.
I love that. Oh my God. 100%. That's me down to a T. I will take that any day.
Totally. Me too. Like I just, and it's the other thing that I like to remind people, or like, get people to wrap their heads around is like receiving isn't selfish. It's not taking. In this sort of instance, receiving is a gift that you're giving to your lover because it makes them feel good. It gives them the opportunity to like, give you pleasure and like explore your body, and like makes them feel hot and turned on and like a bit of a king dick as well, because they get to see you in pleasure. They get to like have this effect on you and really notice you enjoying it. Like it must be, like when I'm massaging someone, if I can feel that they're not fully receiving it, if I can feel that they're in their heads or that they're often people will try to help you. So I do kahuna massage and I'll like move their limbs around as I go, and I'll notice their bodies tensing up and them trying to anticipate where I'm moving their limb, and they'll do it for me. And I'm like, hey, stop it. Stop that. Your muscles are engaging. You're trying to help me. You're thinking about, like, you're not relaxed enough to be receiving and enjoying this. Like, just be like dead body, honestly, just be a total rag doll. And it really, like, it takes people out of the experience of like just enjoying the pleasure. And it's actually harder work for me and less enjoyable for me as the giver when I can feel that they're not totally receptive. So it's actually a gift you can give someone, just to like really lie there and surrender and receive what they're giving, whether it's touch, whether it's attention or whatever. It's like really pleasurable for them to be giving if you're receiving that graciously and, you're enjoying it. So I think it's like a two-way street. It's not as black and white as like, oh, well, if I'm receiving, that means that like I'm taking from them. It's like it's a reciprocal thing,
Big time. Yeah. And I know people who fully like, to start off a sexy session, they need to give to drop into it. They need to actually, it turns them on, it sparks their arousal to actually give to a partner. So if you're then going, no, let me give to you, it's like, no, but actually, like, this is part of my foreplay. I actually get really turned on by eating you out or kissing you or whatever. So I think there's also that in it as well. Like, your partner genuinely, full body, wants to give to you. And when you reject that, which subconsciously maybe you reject it by going, oh, no, let me give to you because you can't fully receive, it's almost not allowing them to step into their arousal or their pleasure as well.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Love that you said eating me out. Like,
I know that just came out and I haven't said that in years.
So good. I'm all about like the crass and the crude. Like, bring it on. I loved that. I was like, oh my goodness, Melissa.
I'm in it.
Look out the word plunge in a minute. Hey, Babe Towns. So sorry to interrupt, but I simply had to pop my head into the lounge here and mention another virtual lounge that you've got to get around. It's the Labia Lounge Facebook group that I've created for listeners of the potty to mingle in. And there you'll find extra bits and bobs like freebies or discounts for offerings from guests who've been interviewed on the podcast, inspiring and thought-provoking conversations, and support from a community of labial legends. I also have an account on the fab new app Sunroom, which is a platform created by women for women and non-binary folk, and where there's no shadow banning or censorship of sex-positive content, unlike with the other platforms that I'm on. So you can hit up my Sunroom for extra content and real and raw life updates, because I'll be sharing on there from now on all of the stuff that I can't post anywhere else. My vision for both of these is that they become really supportive, educational, and hilarious resources for you to have more access to me and a safe space to ask questions that you can't ask anywhere else. So head over to the links in the show notes and I'll hopefully see you in there. And now, back to the episode. Cool.
So
well, I reckon it's time for the segment Get Pregnant and Die.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die. Don't have sex in the missionary position. Don't have sex standing up. Just don't do it. Promise?
So this is where I ask people to share with me a story about their sex education, how it failed them, what they would have liked to have learned more about, just some kind of anecdote about your sex ed.
Yeah, cool. So sex ed sucked, first and foremost. And I really like now being in this work. I mean, there's a lot of things that they failed on, and blessed they did their best. I went to a Christian school. So, it was all about don't get pregnant and don't get an STI or STD. So I really feel like they failed to focus on female pleasure and actually how different it is to male pleasure, especially on the topic that we're talking about today, having that understanding of male pleasure and arousal and stimulation can be very different to how a woman desires and enjoys to be stimulated and aroused. And to understand that would, I think anyway, alleviate the pressure that women put on themselves to have quick orgasms or to be able to explode just from like a few taps on your clitoris, So I think they really failed to focus on the difference between female pleasure and male pleasure. And also like there's similarities as well, but I think, so that. And I think another piece as well is really failing to talk about the connection and vulnerability of relationships and sex, and actually that it's okay and empowering and super fucking hot to be vulnerable instead of pretending to be like you know it all, or pretending to be like you're a dragon in a sack or whatever, to actually go, do you like what I'm doing to you? Are you enjoying this? Hey, I don't know. I've never like given a blowjob before. Can you tell me what to do? Or what, just like that vulnerability, being in high school and knowing that actually that was powerful to be vulnerable would have been amazing if they talked about that. And then connection, just understanding like sex is pleasurable and it can like get us all off, but actually the connection it can bring can be so beautiful to acknowledge and really learn about as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Such a good answer. I totally concur with all of that. So I want to like hone in on the topic a little bit closer. Like when it comes to, because I know a big part of what might be holding us back and holding back our full expression or access to our own pleasure is shame. And so like how, when you're working with someone, how do you begin to help them work on the shame, release the fear that's holding them back from like fully embodying their sexual selves and their sexual expression?
Yes, great question. Now, I think this is different for everybody, but I like a common way that I really take people through sexual shame is first creating a safe space for shame to land in. And it's going, you know what, I have shame too. And I've worked through lots of my shame. It's kind of popping me off a pedestal and going, I have shame too. And I've had to work through that. Like, let's pop it in this circle that we can create here. And, and then we'll go through an embodied practice. So really closing down the eyes. Where do you feel shame in your body? It's in my heart, or it's my womb, or it's between my legs. And then exploring what's there. What have you been told? And really going into what have you been told as a young girl, right? Have you been told off for rubbing your clit against the table and you actually had no idea why you were doing that, but it just felt good? Or have you been caught by your parents masturbating and they said, don't ever do that again? Or really unpacking what's there. And I really recommend starting from a younger age, or, what did you learn in school? What did your religion teach you? What did your parents teach you? What didn't they teach you? What did you feel lost about when you were at high school? And just unpacking some of that stuff, because a lot of people don't realize that, oh, well, I slept with this guy and he told me that my vulva looked disgusting. And I didn't even realize, and that was at school. And I thought it was, the mind kind of goes back to, okay, the last couple of years, like what's happened. But starting back then, back then is really powerful. And then another layer to that is really sexual shame around what we desire, what we use, what we watch, what we dream of, what we fantasize about, and really creating a safe space for all of that to land. Like, I have lots of people, this has been a really common theme lately of people saying like, I feel so much shame, I watch porn. And it's like, cool, how can we look at that and actually go, can we be 100% okay and give ourselves permission in this moment that I enjoy watching porn? Or can I be 100% okay the fact that I use a vibrator? and just actually releasing the charge of what we're deeming as quote unquote bad or not good for us, and just going, all right, let's just pop it in the circle. And actually just the energy of going, wow, okay, it's 100% okay that I watch porn. Like it's 100% okay that I watch porn, and just allowing the client to really just feel that and release the charge. And then from there, I think it's really important as well. Like, yes, it's okay to kind of love our shame and have a safe space for it, but how can we create a new sexual narrative? Like, what really serves you as a thriving sexual being? How do you want to live your life? What thoughts and values and beliefs do you have around your sexuality? Who is surrounding you when you're learning about your sexuality, right? Is it a tribe of like women naked around a fire that, you know, whatever, everyone's like liberated and they're celebrating sexuality, and there's education? Is everyone using vibrators and it's a safe space to use vibrators? Or is it, you know, I think it's just really moving forward and going, okay, let's create a really epic sexual narrative that I can start living by and start living it. You know, if you don't want to watch porn anymore and you've had a lot of shame around it, work on that piece. How can I impact this? How can I maybe slow down my usage of it, or change, or get professional help? Or if I've had shame around my vulva, how can I actually start to look at her in the mirror and just start to appreciate her and go, fuck, she's beautiful. Wow. Like I've never viewed her like this, or I've never touched her like that. And just starting to unpack these little pockets that we hold on to, because like you say, it is what blocks our pleasure. Sexual shame is the piece that people are afraid to look at. You know, it's like the shadow of the sexuality. Like, oh, don't go into that treasure chest. Like it's going to fuck you up if you go in there. And it's like, actually, like our shame is so beautiful, and it can be such a gold mine and like pivotal point to really change and accept who we are as sexual beings.
Gorgeous. So I was going to ask you about your kind of history with all this stuff, and obviously you've wound up working in this field, but I would love to know, like, what difficulties did you have with this stuff in the past? And then, what juiciness did you find when you started working on your shame? What did you, did you go through this process with yourself?
So I didn't go through that exact process with myself. That's definitely something that I've learned in my professional career, and I wish I had gone through it with myself. But I think it really started probably around my vulva and someone making a comment about it when everyone was drunk one time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not normal. Like shut down. And then that really affected who I dated and who I allowed in my sacred space. It was one of those moments where it's like, okay, I've got to get fucking wasted so that I can just numb that little piece, that comment that I held on to for years. Like it was such a piece of shame that I had. And so that was a piece. And then also just being the ultimate performer in the bedroom. Like I did not give a shit about my own pleasure or my own like orgasmic equality, whatever that means. But it was like, I'm here to please you, and don't worry, I will satisfy you. And that came from catching my boyfriend at the time watching porn. I left for work that morning. I forgot something, raced back home, went through the front door, went into our bedroom, and he was lying there, laptop up, like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then and at that age, I think I was 20. I don't think I had actually seen porn before. It just kind of wasn't that accessible to me. So I was just beside myself and couldn't believe what he was watching. I mean, it was like your general play out, role play porn, and kind of a woman just getting, I'm trying to think of not a crass word here, but it's like pounded. It's
just getting railed.
slammed dunk.
Absolutely slammed. Yeah.
I mean, like, also no shame around that. If you enjoy that, then 100%. I love that sometimes as well when I'm really turned on. But in this instant, I was shocked, and it made me really go into like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're getting turned on by other women. And then I started Googling it myself and watching what they did, and then just mimicked what they did. And it was like, I was so out of body, and I was like, how do I make myself spray like that? Like, I'm not good enough. The fact that I can just an orgasm like this, how do I ejaculate like a shower head? And it was just so out of body. And I was like that for freaking years. I would say like at least 8 years.
Wow.
Until, I went to my first workshop, and then obviously it was all about understanding sex, and it was female pleasure focused. And that was just like, holy shit, what have I been doing? Like, I didn't realize that my pleasure was important. Didn't realize that I have to figure out what I actually like in bed. Like, what the hell does that mean? So there were a lot of things that kind of took me to this work, but this workshop was what made me want to explore more. And then over that time, slowly, I decided to go, okay, this is something that I want to help people with as well, because it has changed my life fully.
Totally. Yeah, that's so beautiful. So I guess like my next question is like, what do you feel like through, your own experience personally and professionally, what's the it's pretty, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, this question, what's the key to feeling confident and liberated in the bedroom? And like, where do we start? Like, where do you start when you're coaching a woman on this area? And that's a fucking huge question. I don't know if you can distill it down to like one key. Yeah. But yeah, like, what's your approach, and how do we, where do we start?
Yeah, I love it. So I'm just like trying to close my eyes and think into like, fuck this. I've got like 100 keys in front of me, but I'm just allowing one key to float up here. And I think it's honestly, for me, what it came down to is getting to know yourself. Like, sexual confidence came from knowing that, one, I am worthy of pleasure. My body is enough. What I desire is beautiful. What I fantasize about, or what my kinks are, is fucking delicious. And it was just, I think it's about claiming everything that makes you tick is like, yes, and that's a part of me. Yes, and that's a part of me. And the more you claim something and go, yep, this is mine, I'm owning it, anybody can come along and try and go, oh my God, you're into like hard spanking, or you're into that. It's like, fuck, here I am. Have you ever tried it? Rather than like, oh my gosh, should I not be? Or am I not worthy enough of being like, am I not beautiful enough to get spanked really hard or something? It's just the more you own it, the more you feel liberated in yourself, no matter what it is, right? Your kinks, your desires, your fantasies, whatever it is. The more you say yes to what it is that you desire, what you want, what turns you on, what lights you up, the more embodied you are and the more confident you become. And for me, that is the key to becoming confident.
Yeah, absolutely. Backing yourself and knowing that like what everyone else doesn't really think, what everyone else thinks doesn't matter. It's, what you enjoy is so valid, and everyone's so unique when it comes to that. And also, like, even if you think that you're into something that's really, really fringe and it's really like weird or unusual or uncommon, like there are definitely plenty of other people out there that are also into it,
and probably deeper. I think some people, I had a friend who was like, oh my gosh, don't tell anyone, but I like choking. I was like, hey, that's like choking's all good. I think like 80% of the population probably loves a bit of a choke every now and again, and in her mind it was just like the worst thing, and she just felt so much shame about it. I was like, people are doing, and not to like make it good or bad or worse or better, I was like, people are doing some epic stuff in the kink and fantasy world. Like, choking will be something that I'm trying to be careful with what I say here, but I think it's like a beginner's thing. So I
Totally.
think
It's
as
like,
well.
it's pretty low key compared to the stuff that's being done. Like, honestly, if you go from like, if you're thinking like spanking and choking at one end of the spectrum and like full blown like bloodletting and shit at the other end, it's like, dude, it's chill.
Oh, it's just joking. Yeah.
Oh, well,
no.
you're so vanilla.
Settle.
Basic.
Totally.
Yeah, I feel so incredibly vanilla. Like, I think because I'm in this industry, everyone assumes I'm like massively
Me too.
just super out there and like a huge, kinkster and all of the things. And like it's like I know about all the stuff. I like understand, as much as I can, like why people are into it. And I'm really, really open and non-judgmental about it. But I also like, it's also, most of it's not my thing. And so it was like a bit of a thing for me. I mean, I haven't really minded too much, but in the beginning I was like a little tiny bit like, insecure or had a bit of imposter syndrome about being a sex coach who isn't super kinky, and it's like, it's actually so beautiful and fun. And I like totally love being vanilla, but sometimes I'm like, well, wouldn't it just be a little bit more exciting and diverse and cool if I was into more, different stuff? And it's like, it's not that I haven't like tried and explored. It's not like I'm just shut off from it. I've definitely tried, but it's just not, it just doesn't do it for me at the moment. Maybe it will down the track. But yeah, It's funny. Like, I'll get clients like asking me about certain things, and it's like I can give them theoretical knowledge and tips and whatever, and also just provide a really like safe, non-judgmental space to chat about it and bounce off. But I don't personally have any experience with like some of these things that people are coming to me about, and I'm like, oh, amazing, cool, you're into that, sweet. Like, never done it myself, but
yes. And like I feel like I have also moved through that similarly as well. Like I put up a quiz, I think it was last year, and it's like, what's my favorite position? And it's fucking missionary. I love that beast of a position. And people are like, oh my God, no way. I thought you'd be like some like name that you couldn't even pronounce. I was like, absolutely not. It's an OG position for a reason, girlfriend.
Totally.
And even like I bought shibari ropes, like I kid you not, probably 8 months ago, and I've never used them. I was like, yes, we must learn shibari, darling, and like let's get into it. And there's still like barcodes on everything.
Oh,
so I feel this. And there's coaches who are like kink coaches or kink educators, or like I even had someone say like, oh my gosh, you don't know, like I thought you would just coach people about polyamory and non-monogamous relationships. I was like, I can, exactly what you said, I can like create a safe space for that, and I can tell you what to do around trust and safety, but it's also not my jam. Like I don't have a ton of desire to learn about polyamory or non-monogamy in relationship, so it's like we specialize in these things. But yeah, even we were camping one time, and Steve, my partner, his mate was like, and Mel, what do you do? And, I even had shame around telling people I was a sex coach. For the first year, I was like, I work in women's wellness. I work in like women's health. And then I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm doing this job. I'm going to claim it, and I can deal with other people's reactions. And this is just a typical male. No, I don't want to say that. They're not all like this. But it was like, I'm a holistic sex coach. And he was like, tap Steve on the chest. He was like, oh, buddy, nice one. And I was like, fucking wanker. And I was like, what do you mean nice one? Like, tell me about that. And he was like, well, I was like, no, I don't. Do tell me what you think. Like, do you think we're hanging each other up by ropes most nights and doing, what's going through your head right now? And it was just so funny to unpack what he was thinking when I said I'm a sex coach. It's just this idea of what we do.
Totally. Oh my God, it's so fucking relatable for me. Like I can't even tell you how many conversations I've had like that. And even if they don't say anything, you can watch it going through their minds, and you're just like, oh God, like, come on, you tosser.
fucking wanker. I feel like I'm going to do a reel on that one day, being like, I'm a sex coach, and then just all the different things that people think you do as a sex coach.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a great idea. Fuck. Well, I'll remix it. Whatever that means. I really don't know how to use reels and remixes and stuff. But
Neither.
Oh God, we can collab. That'd be hilarious.
I love
well,
it.
because I've got like a actually that reminded me, I made a reel of listen to us fucking Jen like talking about real. I made a reel about that exact situation where someone's like, oh, so hey Freya, what do you do for work? And I'm just like, and then it cuts away to like me kind of like having to think, and then this video of all of my like vagina, pussy, cunt, like sex books just spread out over the coffee table with like sex toys and pussy magnets that I make, like all this sex stuff. Love. And I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'm just self-employed, you know, like work in women's health, because I fully used to do that too. I used to just be like, ugh, I can't be bothered with this. I'm just gonna say like it's just easier, it's more palatable, it doesn't warrant too many follow-up questions. Like I wouldn't do it with everyone, but sometimes I was like, oh, I'm just going to pick my battle here, and I cannot be bothered. I cannot be bothered with this. Like, I'm so impressed with you that you actually like, you know, like confronted that and unpacked it and were like, what do you mean? Like, no, like tell me what's going through your head. Because like so many occasions, like I was just like, oh, I just can't be bothered. And so I just let it slide. But then I'm like, ew, that made me feel gross. Like, fuck you for making assumptions.
I know. Yeah. I know. I mean, given I'd had a few drinks, so I was like, no, let's fucking go there. You want to go? Let's go.
I'm going to fucking sex coach you right now about your like latent shame and assumptions about this. Yeah. Oh,
I feel we've got some shame. Let's talk about this. Let's get into the body.
Oh, love it. Cool. Well, how do you feel about doing the segment TMI? Because I know it's tricky to think of a story on the spot. If you don't have one, I can try to rustle up something. But yeah, do you have anything that jumps to mind? Excuse the interruption, my loves, but I'm shamelessly seeking reviews and 5-star ratings for the potty because, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's pretty fab. And the more people who get to hear it, the more people it can help. Reviews and ratings help me curry favour with the algorithmic gods and get suggested to other listeners to check out. Plus, they make me feel really good and appreciated as I continue to pour my heart and soul into creating this baby for you. And I promise I don't mazz over them or anything. I mostly just tuck them away for a rainy day when I'm filled with self-doubt and existential dread about being self-employed, which is fairly frequently. So you see, leaving a review really does make a difference, and it's an easy little act of support that you can take in just a minute or two by either going to Spotify and leaving 5 stars for the show, or writing a written review and leaving 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts. Choose your poison, or if you're a real overachiever, you could do both. Whoa now. If you are writing a review though, just be sure to only use G-rated words, because despite the fact that this is a podcast about sexuality, words like sex can be censored and your review won't actually show up. Lame. Anyway, oh, what was that? Oh, you're going to go do it right now while I wait. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. May as well just quickly click that 5-star button before we get on with it and, you know, like forget about it and get on with your day. I'm hearing them roll in. I'm hearing those 5 stars. Oh my God, I make myself cringe. Anyway, thank you much, Lee. You're a total gem, and I'll let you get back to the episode now.
I don't. And I was trying to think of this and I was like, come on, something will come through. Like, I want to, if it's going to be TMI, it's going to be TMI. You know, I don't want to be bringing just like, oh, and we like fucked in the bush and someone caught us. Like, I want to go all in. So right now, I don't have anything that's coming to me, which sucks because I'm a dirty, where am I going with
dirty
this?
bird.
I'm a dirty bird and I've got lots of shit to say. So I don't. Do you have something to cover me?
Totally, always. I've done a few episodes that were like purely dedicated to TMI stories.
TMI, we love it. TMI, we love it.
So I have a big list of ones that listeners sent in and like ones of mine and my friends, but one's just springing to mind. that I haven't spoken about on this podcast. And it's just like the sweetest, funniest thing. A client of mine from years ago who's now become a friend, her late husband, and they just sound like, I met her after he'd already died, and it's just heartbreaking because they were together like 19 years. It sounds like the most just phenomenal connection and relationship. And she's now gone on to become a sex coach as well. And so she sent me some really funny ones, and she was telling me about how her and her husband used to do this thing where like they'd be at a, just like a family thing or a Christmas lunch or whatever, and they would really, really like subtly just sort of dip a finger down their butt crack.
Oh my God.
And then kind of sidle up to the person while they're like chatting to, the mother-in-law or whatever, and just sort of gently swipe the butt crack sweat finger underneath their nose, like along the top lip, and just be like, hey, babe, and get like a little whiff of like crack sweat. And it just, I lost it. I was like, you fucking like, that's epic. And
so good.
Yeah, so good.
So much. I've actually done that to Steve where I'm just like, babe, smell this. And he's like, oh, Jesus Christ, what is that? It's like, my butt. That's gold. I'm going to bring it to the party.
I know. And like they've got teenage kids and stuff. And, I was just picturing, I think she's in her 40s or something. I was just picturing this like, married couple, like living the adult life, just doing fun, little playful, hilarious things like that. And I was like, fuck, you guys. I love that.
Honestly, I feel like that's the essence to a relationship, like long-lasting relationship is play, isn't it? Like it's just to be able to play with each other like that and just have fun. Fuck, it's good. Like great sex comes from play.
Yes, cannot agree with that more. It's just, I mean, yes. Everyone who listens to this podcast obviously knows I'm all about that. Most of my TMI stories are like ridiculous and all involving play and humor and just being kind of silly and like a bit childlike, it's very important. I think.
So important. Oh my God, Steve and I did this course last year, and it was with Layla Martin, and one of the modules was about being an animal. And I kid you not, I've never said this on live. And I think I had to be a cow, and I was on all fours mowing while Steve was riding me, and I had to walk around the house mowing. And like it was all about I'm laughing because it's just like me walking around naked on all fours, mooing, and Steve naked on top of me, like riding, and we're both just giggling our asses off. I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I cannot believe we're doing this right now. But we were in fits of laughter. I was like, I guess that's what it was meant to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's so fucking good for you to laugh, like deep belly laugh as well. Like, if someone's able to fully lose their shit, like laughing, then you've got a better chance at like fully losing your shit in orgasm as well, like it's just play. I know Lockie and I like often it's always a bit silly, but we have this like whole running thing where we come up with we call them combo moves, and like they've got levels of like how pro they are, and like they're definitely not actually erotically enjoyable, but they're like really funny. So we'll like we'll be like kind of fucking and see if we can somehow get someone's toe in a mouth and a finger in a butt, like just see if we can like contort ourselves and do like some really elaborate pro combo move, and just be like, wow, we're like sexual connoisseurs, babe, like fucking high five. And it's like not actually enjoyable, but it's very funny.
That's not vanilla. I feel some spiciness.
It's funny because like it doesn't actually get us off in any way that we're like erotically turned on by it, but we're just like we're like humorously turned on by it because like the sense of humor is such a big part of both of us and what we love about each other. So if you want to see like the best combo move we've ever come up with that is actually like physically impossible, so we got our like artist friend to draw it for us. We call it the what did I name it? The cosmic reach around or the oh my God, I can't even, transcendental wristy. That's right. We've got too many different ones. And it's hard to describe, but I'll put a photo on the Facebook group of this drawing because I've basically put it on t-shirts and fanny packs and made merch out of it because it's just so funny. And it's like his dick going in my vagina all the way up, coming out of my mouth. And then my hand going up his bum, all the way up, coming out of his mouth, and then giving his dick a wristy.
Oh my God, I love this. I was hoping you would go there. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I need to see it.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send you a photo. You can order a t-shirt if you like.
Absolutely.
For Steve.
yeah. To work.
Oh, fuck. Love it. Okay. Well, just because I'm conscious of time, I want to get like back on track so that we can wrap up with some like practical, I guess, tools and techniques that people can use that help them get out of their heads when they're having sex. Because I feel like a lot of the time it comes to, you know, whether it's because they're sidetracked by shame or insecurities or self-consciousness or overthinking, it's pretty much coming, like a lot of the time it's coming back to like, I can't get out of my head and into my body. I can't be present in my body because of what's going on in my head. So like, what are some of your favorite techniques that you find to be effective for this?
I mean, so something that I've recently explored with a lot of clients. I mean, there's the usual breath, right? Taking a breath, resetting the mind, getting back into the body. There's sound, like communicating with your partner, or there's an audible exhale, like, I just need to take a moment. And there's also movement. So I think breath, sound, movement, we hear those all the time, really. Movement, even just shimmying your hips or stretching out your arms or even thrusting, rocking your hips back and forward. I think a lot of people are wooden planks and it's like, come on, make that happen, squeeze it out. But something that I have found so juicy is actually going, what about if it's not coming out of your head? And what about if it's using your head to get in your body? And I've found that this little sentence has really helped people not force themselves to be like, I've got to get my body, I've got to get my body. It's like, oh, I'm in my head. I'm noticing in my head. How can I then go, oh, and I'm experiencing pleasure in my clitoris. I'm going to use my mind to hone in or focus on the sensation that I'm feeling in my clitoris. And I find that even just this saying, how can we use our mind to get into the body, has helped so many clients just go, oh, so I don't have to like put pressure on myself to get into my body, because for some people, they don't even know what that means. You know, it's like the mind's job is to think. The mind's job is busy. When we're in stillness, the mind, like we're so much more aware of our mind. So rather than trying to get out of it, which can cause a lot of tension and frustration, what about staying in there, but just putting it to work and using it? So focusing on your body, focusing on even your heartbeat, focusing on like the wetness of your pussy, focusing on relaxing your muscles. And for me, this has just been groundbreaking for clients that have gone, oh my God, that was the piece that has helped me. I don't have to get out of my mind. I can use it to stay in my body, or use it to get back into my body and experience pleasure and orgasm.
Oh my God. I reckon that's probably the most practical tip anyone's ever given on this podcast. Like, that's so good. It's like, you know, people like we a lot of the time we think that meditation's all about, you know, stilling the mind and clearing it and having nothing going on in there. And it's like, nah, that's actually like so limiting, and it makes everyone feel like they're shit at meditation.
Yes.
Me included. It's like, no, like use the mind and actually just get familiar with how you can be a bit more agile in there. And like when I think about, okay, I've got to get more in the body, it doesn't automatically happen. I have to use my mind to focus on where I'm being touched, or the physical sensation, or the thing I want to really like tune into in my physical body. So it's like you can't isolate one or the other, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like for beginners or people who are wanting to deepen their experiences, just saying it like, use your mind to get into your body is just like, great. That for me, I can comprehend that. So I'm not now focusing on like where I'm experiencing pleasure, getting out of my head, breathing, moving, sounding. It's just like, fuck yeah, let's use this phenomenal, powerful thing, which is the mind, to get into the body and have incredible experiences. Like how can we just, it's that integrative experience, right? Mind, body, they are as one, rather than just going just the body. We always need the mind. And a client actually taught me that. A client said, I've been trying to get out of my head, but, don't you use the mind to get into your body? And I was like, oh my God, genius. Yes, of course we do. Like, what have you been trying to do? And she was like, well, I don't know, just eliminate my mind and fully get out of it and just be in my body. I was like, imagine if someone could actually do that, and that I got that concept from her because she had been fully trying to get out of her mind, like nothing exists there, and just get in her body. I was like, that's impossible. So let's just change that, that belief.
Totally. It's such a valuable reframe because I think, like a lot of the language and tips or phrases that get used, especially in like I found in tantric or sacred sexuality realms, so much of it was just completely like nebulous. Like, I had no like concept of what they meant by what they were saying. I'm like, how the fuck do I do that? What does that even mean? Like this language is totally inaccessible to me. Like I feel more isolated. I feel like I can't relate to that and therefore it must be something wrong with me. Like I feel like the way you've just like reframed that is so valuable and relatable and just like easy to practice, like easy to apply.
Yeah, totally. And just a lot more inviting. Right. It's like, so I don't have to do too much. People are like, okay, I've got to get in the body, just like what I kind of said before. I've got to get in the body. I've got to do it like this. I've got to make sure that I can move. I've got to breathe at the same time. It's like, sister, take a breath and like, let's make this as easy as possible so you can just experience some epic pleasure.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Thank you for that. So what about if like, because I know the topic is orgasming with the partner, but what if a woman has trouble orgasming just in general, even when she's on her own?
So, I mean, and it depends how long you've been experiencing this for, right? Have you been experiencing this all your life? Are you, is it a stage in your life that you're at, like menopause or postpartum or things like that? So that's something to take into consideration. If you have never orgasmed before, I think something really beautiful, and I learned this from Bonnie, is actually starting to get professional support and knowing like you don't have to do that on your own. You don't have to start trying to learn the whole world of orgasming on your own. And something that I recommend is going to yoni mappers. And I know that you're a yoni mapper as well, and actually having someone go, and this is what Bonnie did for me, like, here's your A spot, here's your G spot, and like teaching me about my body so I could then go, cool, thanks. And now I can explore it and actually learning like ways to touch yourself, ways to create desire in your body, ways to really connect with your body, because a lot of people just assume that we're born with an orgasmic gift. It's like, oh yes, you just should know how to do that. And you should know what you're doing. You should know how to connect with yourself and touch yourself and pleasure yourself. And some people are like, I have no idea. When I say to somebody, I talked to somebody last week and she was like, I have no idea how to touch my vulva. And I was like, okay, here's 5 ways to do it. She was like, whoa, I would never think about like massaging my inner labia or brushing down my vulva. Like I would never think about that. And it just made me realize like, oh yes, remember the basics. Remember just how to touch and connect. Like it is so underrated, just the basics. Like, and get fucking familiar with your clitoris. Like that beauty is made for pleasure. So yeah, I mean, there is so much to say about this, but I think rather than overwhelming someone of like, do all of these things and you'll be able to orgasm in 10 minutes. It's going, how can you reach out for support with somebody who's really well qualified, and then start your like Dora the sexual explorer or orgasmic explorer, and start creating connection and learning about your body. And like we've mentioned, this whole podcast is not focusing on orgasm. I know it's frustrating. I know you want to get there, but also I think something that I've actually given to clients is, even if you've never orgasmed, going into a self-pleasuring session and going, okay, I am not going to orgasm today. Like, nope, I'm not going to let you orgasm, and creating that tension within your body. It's like, no, even if I get close, I promise myself I'm not going to orgasm. And it's just taking that pressure, that experience away and exploring your body.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, just taking the pressure off, all the expectations, getting rid of those. Yeah, really beautiful. Hey, me again. If you'd like to support the potty and you've already given it 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on, I want to mention that you can buy some really dope merch from the website and get yourself a Labia Lounge tote, tee, togs. Yep, you heard that right. I even have Labia Lounge bathers, or a cute fanny pack if that'd blow your hair back. So if fashion isn't your passion, though, you can donate to my Buy Me a Coffee donation page, which is actually called Buy Me a Soy Chai Latte, because I'll be the first to admit I'm a bit of a Melbourne cafe tosser like that. And yes, that is my coffee order. You can do a once-off donation or an ongoing membership and sponsor me for as little as 3 fat ones a month. And I also have a Sunroom profile over on the Sunroom app, as I've mentioned. And I also offer one-on-one coaching and online courses that'll help you level up your sex life and relationship with yourself and others in a really big way. So every bit helps, because it ain't cheap to put out a sweet podcast into the world every week out of my own pocket. So I will be undyingly grateful if you support me and my biz financially in any of these ways. And if you like, I'll even give you a mental BJ with my mind from the lounge itself. Saucy. And I'll pop the links in the show notes. Thank you. Later. Oh, so valuable. This has been such a jam-packed episode. Do you have any parting words of advice or hope that you'd like to leave listeners with if, this is something they're struggling with? Like, everything you've been saying is just so, valuable, and I bet will be incredibly validating and helpful for people. But is there anything that I've missed or anything you'd love to just end with?
Well, I feel like there's this little cherry that I'm just going to say, and it's to make your pleasure a priority. And it's to really go, yep, I am worthy of pleasure. And yes, I am going to carve out this time for my pleasure, or I'm going to connect to my pleasure. And it's just going, or it's like reframing that I don't have time for myself, or I don't have time for that, and reframing it and opening yourself to pleasure. And making it a priority with your partner, saying, I'm exploring my pleasure. It's like, I really want to make it a key part of our sessions now, or just claiming it and making it a priority with yourself and with your partners.
Love that. Thank you so much. So is there, I'll put all the links in the show notes for everyone to check out your work. I'd highly recommend following Melissa. She puts out epic content and is obviously incredibly knowledgeable and just you're just gorgeous. I love your approach of very, very relatable, very safe, and accessible. So I really appreciate that about you. Beautiful. Well, where can people find you online?
So I think the hotspot is definitely the gram at Melissa Vranjes, and I'm sure you'll pop the link. I'm not going to spell out the name, but that's definitely the place to go, and where you'll find just lots of great education, information, and support.
Yeah, and those reels that we were talking about, we have to get onto
I can't wait. We are doing those. Literally, I'm so excited to do them.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Mel. It's been an absolute treat.
Yeah, and thank you so much. Thank you for the beautiful words you said about me before, and also just want to celebrate and honor the work that you do and the foundations that you really teach from as well. I really respect and honor your work, and this has just been such a great, fun, raw conversation. So, and thank you for bringing out the eating me out and me. I haven't said that since high school, so I'm glad this conversation brought that out.
That's so good. It seems to be a little gift of mine, actually. A few different people and friends have said that. They're like, you are actually not even like, there's no rating. You're like unclassified rating. It brings out all of the most raw dog, like crude parts of people. And I feel like that's a really good compliment. So I'm really stoked.
Huge. Yeah. Huge compliment.
Right. Yeah. All right, my love. Thank you. I'll chat to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye. And that's it, darling hearts. Thank you for stopping by the Labia Lounge. Your bum groove in the couch will be right where you left it, just waiting for you to sink back in for some more double L action next time. And in the meantime, if you'd be a dear and subscribe, share this episode, or leave a review on iTunes, then you can pat yourself on the snatch, because that, my dear, is a downright act of sex-positive feminist activism. And you'd be supporting my vision to educate, empower, demystify, and destigmatize with this here podcast. Also, I'm always open to feedback, topic ideas that you'd love to hear covered, or guest suggestions. So feel free to get in touch via my website at freyagraph.com or say hey over on Insta. My handle is Freya_graph_YMT, and I seriously hope you're following me on there, because damn, we have fun. We have fun. Anyway, later labial legends. I'll see you next time.